You don't think that it's a problem that our government has to rely on an outside organization for data on what the bills say? Because that's basically the argument.
These are some people who are alleged to have valid asylum claims. They were about to get their asylum hearing, or they're alleged to have done things the right way. I know that you don't want to
send them back. I don't care.
So you don't agree with asylum in general, but that's the law right now. The asylum is the law right now, and you should follow the law.
Look, the truth is where we're going to have fundamental disagreements is I think that Democrat Party as a whole wanted millions of people to come in. They wanted to flood the country, and they want to make the process as burdensome as possible. How do you explain the actions of Joe Biden then?
The inaction of Joe Biden?
Yeah.
I think
incompetence?
You mean why the border was so bad?
Right. Why did millions come in?
Well, I think he understood why the legal limits of his power in the first 3 years, and then he broke the law flagrantly and in bad faith in the fourth year. So I think that Joe Biden did something corrupt in the fourth year.
Why is so?
That's your opinion. Of illegal immigration.
That's your opinion. Is that a common opinion amongst the legal field that these executive orders are
amongst the legal field? Which executive orders? Trump's?
Yeah, like
some
the ones
yes,
that were
some
rescinded.
no.
The ones
so,
Biden
for example,
did. You're saying the ones Biden did were illegal.
Yeah, so I think the ones that Biden did closing the border, I believe that to be illegal. And
you think Trump that's a common belief in the legal community?
Among left-wing Democrats?
In general, lawyers is an over. You think
Yes.
How many brought cases against Biden's orders?
The ACLU did.
Did they? Were they
filed a
successful?
lawsuit. Well, I don't know where it is right now. I haven't followed up to date on it, and I'm sure there's updated litigation because Trump has basically extended it. But the reason why I think it's illegal is because the INA creates a power for the Trump to suspend. It's called the suspension clause. Any class of alien. Alien is a term for non-citizen in the INA, but even if you're ordered suspended under the INA, you're still considered, quote, inadmissible. And so I think we've had this discussion before, but I basically think that was illegal. I don't necessarily think remain in Mexico is illegal. I don't know if we have a final ruling on that. But those for me are policies that don't matter as much as the closing the whole border. And one of the reasons why, for example, another thing that Biden was unwilling to do, what Trump is willing to do, which I think is significant, is apply expedited removal to its statutory maximum. And that basically says anyone within a large radius of the border within like 2 years can be subject to expedited removal. And Biden wasn't willing to put that to the max. He was willing to do consistent with the previous. So there are some actions by Trump that probably affect
real quick, I'll end on this. I think that I am still in favor of, now listen, when it comes to these lower courts, I think particularly when there's just a temporary restraining order, Trump pushing back a little, not falling to the letter of the law, exactly what they're saying. I think that they are being activists and stuff. I think the gravity of the situation increases as you get to higher and higher courts if he would ignore it. So if the Supreme Court would be like, you can't do this, and he's like, go fuck yourself, that's clearly a magnitude worse than Judge, Boasberg or whatever the hell his name is, says something. So I think that we'll see. But I think that what Trump should be doing is getting clever. For example, if you say that USAID has to be funded and all this money has to be funded, that's discretionary funding that just says like Congress passed $10 million for cancer research. What I'm advocating for is a bunch of conservatives to start NGOs, and we redirect that money to conservative groups.
Good luck.
Instead of sending money to Politico, to the New York Times, to the BBC, we should send money to Breitbart. We should send money to conservative influencers like me. It's the same with this. If you're saying we can't deport people, Trans-Nicaragua, if they would say they can't be detained, they can't be deported, then what you do is give them stipends to live in Democrat strongholds. You send them right there, you give them housing, and you make the Democrats choke on their own bullshit.
Listen, one of the reasons why I was against Chuck Schumer
for changing this shit.
One of the reasons why I'm calling for Chuck Schumer to step down as leader of the Senate is because I basically think that the CR, given the administration's behavior, is not specific enough in terms of its funding allocations that I almost think that you're endorsing Trump being a little bit more manipulative with the funds there. So I don't even know that it would be necessarily illegal to move the funds around in some of the ways that you're describing. I think it would be in some cases, and there would be a lot of litigation.
If it specifically says you have to give money to NPR, that's different. But if it says, because a lot of the funding, as you know, the majority of it, I think, is discretionary. It doesn't say it needs to go to this specific organization. It'll say like, so much funding for cancer research in Africa or cancer research in Sudan or like maybe a specific country. And so like Or like HIV, like look, your audience might not like hear this, but like I could start an NGO to fight HIV. You want to know what our agenda is going to be? Pro-Christian monogamous relationships and abstinence until marriage. That'll cut down.
You're going to be
HIV.
caught up in lawsuits up your ass. But
why is that? Why would I be caught up in lawsuits?
Because you're going to have people saying that this is, bad faith. You're not actually spending there. You're going to have people that are claiming that it's illegal under the religion clauses, although I don't necessarily think that would be a winning argument under this court.
Sure.
But no, I hear what you're saying. And listen, I almost want the Democrats to do something a little bit similar, which is to use powers that they. Well, I don't.
The clauses are overwhelmingly left wing. The organizations, the NGOs, etc. Overwhelmingly.
Some of the NGO class. Wait. Some of the NGO class. I want to be careful here. The NGO class, I would say, and the kind of elite institutions, some of them yes, but some of them no. Like in terms of business, a lot of these guys are very pro-Trump. I'm just be honest with you. A lot of the business interests, a lot of the people who are trying to, fund. Whether it comes to the weapons systems and funding for military stuff, a lot of these guys love Trump and they love his policies.
Well, they would love
it's a mixed bag.
They would love anyone that's sending money. What I'm talking about is sort of the cultural agendas that we're sending money to. Like, can you name me one conservative organization that's getting funding through our government?
Conservative organization?
Like a media organization, yeah.
A media organization?
Yeah, because I could name ProPublica, I could name Politico, I could name the New York Times.
Well, Politico is getting well, it's going to be the eye of the beholder for a lot of this. Politico, you understand that it's for like their data and their
partially,
it's not quite the same for their.
But even still, you can make the argument like. You don't think that it's a problem that our government has to rely on an outside organization for data on what the bills say? Because that's basically the argument. Well, what do all these?
No, I mean, in a perfect world, I would want a publicly funded alternative to Politico. But the truth is, there are resources that I want our public officials to have. Like, I want our public officials to have, subscriptions to things that are useful for their job. And I don't think that it's so much money that it represents a conflict of interest. I mean, we're talking about peanuts here, Rob. This is not the big part of the budget.
That's fine. That's fine. If it's just
peanuts,
then we'll redirect it from left-wing causes to right-wing. No problem.
But so long as you're fulfilling the same aims, sure. Right? I mean, then
What's the aim of the funding of the New York Times? What's the aim
because
of that
the New York Times has exclusive reporting that is useful for people doing their jobs.
So's Breitbart.
Bright. Do you think that Breitbart, in terms of the day-to-day of an individual, which publication you think is more useful in terms of any bureaucrat's job? It's going to be the New York Times. You can say that you hate their reporting and shit, but it just is the fact that the New York Times is bigger. It has more specific industry field subspecialties. So I just think that you're kind of kidding yourself if you think it's one-to-one. But hey, I'm not even saying that it would be against the Constitution. I would have to look more into the specific appropriations.
Well, I would just, I think that Trump should do it and let the lawsuits fly. And we can't hold up. We can't hold that money. That would be unfair. We already promised contracts to those groups. But the truth is that I've always been against sort of the unelected bureaucratic state more than I'm against Biden or Obama or any of that shit, more than I'm for Trump, right? And so to see the attempts to dismantle this behemoth and all these Byzantine networks of funding that goes to a bunch of organizations that are antithetical to everything I believe, I say fuck it. And if the argument's going to be, no, you can't stop that funding, well, then you find legal ways to make sure that funding's going to agendas that are more in line with what this politics is. I shouldn't have to fund transgender
I'm glad that you want to follow the law, at least.
Yeah, so that's what I would do, and it's the same with the deportations. Nothing against the law with sending them wherever the fuck you want within the country. Biden proved that. So send them to the Democrats.
I think it probably was legal. It depends on the specific state, but some of the states that sent them around, like, I don't know what law would prevent you from doing that.